everyone, it's Crafty Tina's. In today's video, we're going to be making a notebook with a different type of cover, and we're going to be using the Universal Cinch. Now, I found these really hard plastic photo covers, photo protectors. These are for a 4x6 photo that will fit inside. They're very hard plastic. They come in a pack of 25. I want to say they were $10 for a pack of 25. I'm pretty sure that's how much they cost. I'm not using these for every page of my notebook. I'm using these for the cover. And once I punch my holes, and my holes are going to be punched on the left side, these are top loading. If you hold it portrait, they are top loading. And I'm going to punch my holes on the left side like a typical notebook, like you would open. And I'm going to leave the opening and put the page in after I've punched the holes so that this can be changed or taken out and added to, kind of give some optional opinions when you give this. You can, like, someone else has a different opinion of, oh, that should have my name on it, or that should have a label or a sticker or a business card, or that should have something else in there. And we're going to be able to do that for the front and the back because we're going to leave this optional to put our pages in after it's bound. I did go ahead and cut out everything so I could explain a little bit more about the Universal Cinch and my cinch log. Now we have, for the regular cinch, we have a lot of measurements. We've used these in countless videos just to give you guys, I haven't printed out the latest one, just to give you guys options. I even have one for the Mini Cinch. But I've also started one for the Universal Cinch, and it doesn't have many measurements on it yet because it doesn't need them if you're doing anything. If you're binding an edge that ends in a even number like 6" or 6.5 or 6.25 or 6 3/4, any even, quarter, half, and 3/4, you don't need a guide unless you don't want to put as many holes in it as it's intended. And let me explain that. Use some visual aids here. This is how I determine if it's lined up properly and what I'm going to use. I just get scrap paper that I messed up on the printer. I grab it and I use that to figure out my numbers, where I want to put it, the whole bit. So this is a great example of how this can fail us, because I want to tell the machine how many holes I punch. I don't want the machine to dictate that for me. And with this method, that's what it's doing. So according to this machine, if this was all the way in, now keep in mind, I have a stopper here. You have a line there. So you're going to line your papers up to that line. I'm using the stopper. It's going to stop it at the line. If you are interested in this, jump over to my Facebook page and I can let you know how to get one. Now, if you are lining it up with the edge, you're going to make sure you line it up exactly. If you've got the stopper, then you're just butting it up against the stopper. But this line, this very first line, because underneath here there are multiple lines, this first line is your guide. Make sure that you know that is your guideline. If I wanted to punch holes at a 6 1/4 piece of paper, this is going to be my binding, 6 1/4. If I want to punch holes and I put this in here and butt it up to the stopper or on the line, but I only want 5 holes. If I punch those 5 holes and don't punch 6, I don't get an even spaced numbers. I have all this space. The reason I have all this space is the machine itself wants you to punch 6. Because 6 fit, it wants you to punch 6. I don't want 6. I'm using 10 wire, 10 loops. I need 5. So we have to come up with our measurements to put 5 in the center of the paper. So what I've done is I've made a note here. If you take the slider, the first line, all the way out to the 1 mark, and go 1 click past, there's clicks when you pull it, because there's no more lines. I don't know why they didn't give us the lines on this slider like the original cinch. The original cinch has an actual ruler here with all the lines, but there are no rulers, there are no lines. We're stuck with 4 lines. your line goes to 1 and then goes 1 click. Hear the clicks? So if you go to 1 and you go 1 click, I have, by trial and error, have determined that my 5 holes are now evenly spaced on my 6¼ inch piece of paper. I cannot do it at the 1/4 inch mark, because at the 1/4 inch mark, it wants me to do that 6th hole. And if you want to do that 6th hole, that's fine, but I'm not going to let my machine tell me what to do. I want 5 and I want them evenly spaced. So now this measurement is now in this log. For the 6¼ if you want 5 holes, which I do, I am going to put my marker. I'm sorry, this should be slider, not marker. This is why I check these out. 1 past the 1 inch. So I'm going to go to the 1 inch and I'm going to go 1 past it. If I was doing a 5 7/8, which I have another notebook coming up that's going to be a 5 7/8, I know that's weird. You'll see why when I get to it. I needed to figure out how to do 5 and center it. And it ended up being 1 click less than 1 inch. So I had to take my slider, my line, to 1 inch, and then go 1 click in less than the 1. This is going to be updated and put back on Facebook when this YouTube loads. So if you want these sheets, you need to go to my Facebook page. You can get all of them. We have not only the cinch, but I also have a bunch of the punch boards and how to set them to get the right measurement that you're looking for. So there are going to be more and more of the Universal Cinch. It is my newer cinch machine. I have the Mini and I have the original with the round holes. So the Universal Cinch is kind of new. You're probably asking, if I have the Cinch and the Mini, why did I buy the Universal? And I bought the Universal for the spiral. I didn't want the multi, which is the Mini with the cartridges, because I don't want to be limited to what size I can do. And I don't like that the Mini, you can't choose which holes you want to punch and which holes you want to leave unpunched. So this one had features that both the regular Cinch and the Mini Cinch did not have. That's why I purchased it. I do believe, because this is Thanksgiving week, that this machine is on sale on Amazon right now. Kind of wish I waited, but I've been playing with it for quite a while, so okay, I paid full price. You know me, I like a deal, but it has been useful. I have been able to make spirals, and I wanted the spirals because, unlike the wire, the spirals, you can remove them, change out your pages. Like when I make changes on these sheets, I can print out a new one, unroll the spiral, put the new page in, put all the rest of the pages back, and roll my spiral back up. And I do show making this on another video. I showed how I made this. These are my half pages because it's one full sheet folded in half. So now that you got a little bit of explanation on the cinch, let me show you how to punch the holes. Now, my plastic sleeves, if you watched the video right before this one on the stack cutter, you saw that I took one notebook and I made 4 smaller notebooks by cutting it. So what happened was I had a large tablet or notebook, and I cut it using the stack cutter so that I could have 4 equals. These 2 are already attached. They already have the binding on top, and these 2 do not, because I wanted these 2 to bind. This one had the chipboard underneath, so I'm going to use this chipboard to make this notebook in a different video. So that's how I got my lined paper. These pages are not typical. They're very thin. So instead of telling you how many sheets I'm using, I'm going to tell you how thick it is, and it is, I already forgot. I believe it was 5/8. No, it is 3/8 because it is smaller. 2, 3. It is 3/8 because it's smaller than a half. So this is 3/8 inch thick. I'm adding a cover with regular cardstock, front and back. This is 4¼ by 6 inches. These are 6¼ by 4½. These are bigger. And they need to be bigger. I'm sorry, they're 6¼ by 4½. I was correct. 6¼ by 4½. They're bigger because they need to fit a 4 by 6. So this would fit exactly in there with no extra room. This is 4¼ by 6. Now I want to punch my holes on the side prior to putting my paper in. So my paper is not going to cover where my holes are going because this is going to be added into the sleeve. So this paper had to be cut shorter, I'm sorry, narrower. This is 4 by 6. So you have 4¼ by 6 and you have 4 by 6. 2 of them go inside the book, they're being bound. But these 4 pieces, 2 for the front and back cover and 2 for the front and back inside cover, these are going to be placed back to back and inside the plastic sleeve. You could also put a photograph in here if you wish, instead of printed cardstock. If you draw, color, or paint, you could put that in there as well. They're going to go in here with enough room for me to punch the holes using the Universal Cinch. Now, one thing I have noticed with the Universal Cinch is the amount of space from the edge of the page to the hole is bigger slightly than the regular cinch. And I think it needs that because it has such a long, large hole that allows it that extra space so the page doesn't rip out as well. So let's take these papers out. Let's punch this thick plastic using the Universal Cinch. I do recommend you only punch one at a time. Don't try to force it and try to put 2 of these in there. Now, I am punching on the left side because I want my opening to be top. I want it to top load. So this is the side I'm punching. When I am punching holes, I always say in my head face down. So I continue that no matter what, even if it doesn't matter if it's face down. I'm in the habit of doing it so that I don't mess up. And I want everything to be consistent. So if I do the same thing with the covers and the papers, then everything lines up properly. I'm trying to make this into an angle you can see. I want you to be able to see the inside. I'm pushing in 1 through 5 and I pulled out 6. Because this is 6¼ by 4½, according to my little sheet, 6¼ because remember it only cares about the side you are punching. I'm only punching 5 holes. So I'm going to go 1 click past the 1 inch. So I put it on the 1 inch. You're either going to line up your line or line up your paper stopper, depending on what you have. You're going to go 1 click past it. And now I'm going to punch. You will have to help it raise back up. I think it gets caught on the plastic. It punches extremely clean on this plastic, guys. It doesn't always punch the paper clean. Sometimes it leaves little fuzzies. This stuff, it cuts perfect. So now let's cut the other one. We're going to cut it the exact same way, top loaded. So this is my top. I'm going to face down. I'm going to line it up with the line or the paper stopper. Make sure it's all the way to the back and punch. And you're going to want to lift it up nice and clean. So now my 2 covers are complete. I'm going to take the 2 pieces. This is my front cover. This is my inside cover to match my first page. I'm going to put it in the sleeve. And as you can tell, I measured it so it does not cover the holes. These holes are left open now for the binding. So even though after it's bound, this can come out, they can decorate this, add stickers to it, put their name on it, put a business card on it. It has this pretty back that they can do the same thing with. They could even put a little note or a cheat sheet, or maybe they want to put their passwords in there. It's a great way to allow the person getting the gift a way to express themselves as well. So now this is the front cover and this is the back cover. So for the back cover, this goes first, and then they're only a quarter off, so it's kind of hard to remember which is which. This is the back and this is the inside cover. So we're going to put this on top. And I will put the link to these little plastic sleeves because I am so far loving it. I just bought a second pack because I have plans for a bunch of these. So now, and I know the glare is really bad, guys, because they are super shiny. Now I have my front and back cover, and they're nice and stiff. They're going to make a nice notebook. So now the next thing is I want to punch all of my holes in my cover, my first page and last page, with all of my little lined pages in the middle. And I just realized that my little orange wire is missing. I think that things do this on purpose. Oh, no, we're doing the black wire. I'm sorry. I had orange wire out to begin with, and I was kind of looking for the orange. Now I need to punch the holes. Now remember, this cover is longer than the pages, and I want to center it with the holes. So because this was 6 1/4 and this is only 6, there's a whole 1/4 inch difference. So if I punch the holes, putting it up against the actual stop or the line right now, my holes are going to allow this paper to be in there just like that. I want my paper to be in there like that. I want it to be centered. Because this is 6 inch, we're going to check out the guide. 6 inches, 5 holes. We're going to go to the marker number 1. So we're going to put this back to the number 1. We're not putting this to 0. If we put this to 0, I would have to do 6 holes, not 5. So we're doing 6 inches, 5 holes. The marker goes to the 1 inch. So put your line at the 1 inch right here, or your paper stop where your line is. Put that down. We're going to punch all of these. Now I'm going to stack them the way I want them, which means the pretty paper, and all my lines. This is one-sided lines, which I think is kind of odd, maybe because it was a pad of paper, not a notebook, but I kind of like that because this side can be used for drawing, decorating, stickers, anything you want, while you have the lines over here to write. So once this is in the right order, and it's important that it's in the right order, now I'm going to take sections and punch them. And I'm going to do the face down just because I want everything to be consistent. The universal punch is not going to punch this huge stack. So I'm going to punch a little at a time. It punches harder, not because of the limits of the machine, but because of the shape of the punch. It needs more force, so it is going to be a little harder punch than the original or the Mini Cinch. So we're going to take another little stack, and the smaller the stack, the easier it's going to punch. You're just going to put that up there. You're going to line it up with the line or use the paper stop, and you're going to put it all the way to the back. And remember, I'm doing face down on purpose just to keep them all consistent. If you want to use face up, then by all means do that, but then do the entire stack the same way. You don't want to start face up and end face down, because if this is off even the slightest, you're going to be able to tell by how your pages line up in your notebook. You're going to be able to see that some of your pages, there's going to be a stack that's off just a little bit throughout your whole book. So it's best to be consistent. I always do face down, and don't laugh, but when I used to print checks, you had to load the check paper into the printer face down feet first. So that's kind of ingrained in my head from years of doing that. So I'm happy with the face down. Look at there, I left some out. And now, because I did it consistently all the way, when the paper is smooth, the holes are exactly lined up. Had I done some the other way, you would have noticed they would have been like little sections slightly off when the holes are lined up. Now we're going to assemble our book. Top loading, so this is the top. This is the bottom. The grayer paper goes on the outside. And look how perfectly it lines up. Now, the reason I did the pretty paper as page 1 is because I noticed before I even started, because this is clear, you can see it. By adding the pretty paper, and this paper came out of the same book this one came out of, so the colors kind of coordinate. Now I have just a pretty border over here and not, let me show you the difference, and not this white lined paper showing. So if you have colored paper or you want the paper to show, that's entirely up to you. I wanted a corresponding paper to make it look like it had a pretty border. So now I'm ready to bind. Now the first thing you need to know before you bind is my notebook in the exact order that I want it in? Do I have everything right side up? Do I have everything in the right order? And you always check that before you bind it, because once you close this metal, yes, you can reopen it and rebind it, but it will never be the same again. So I make sure, because I wanted my matching papers, all of my lined paper is lined up. All the lines are on the front. I have my back page, and I know this is white, and that's perfectly fine. It's a great place for stickers or drawings or colorings. I wanted my 2 backs, because when you open a real normal book, your 2 insides are usually 1 page and it matches. So I kind of wanted that look with this one. Still top loading. And I have my back to match the front. So now I'm ready to bind. Once you say I'm ready to bind, do not bind. You're going to take your bottom piece only, leaving it in the same direction you just took it out of. You're going to place it on top so that your covers go face to face. You're doing this so the seam goes inside the book. So now you're going to add all of this in this order to your wires. So you can do it in sections. You don't have to do it in all big one swoosh. When I first got the cinch, one of my biggest complaints was how ugly the holes look. I'm kind of getting used to them. They're not as ugly as they used to be. So if that's one thing holding you back from the cinch, because you're so used to each wire being in its own little hole, don't let that stop you. You do get used to it, and you do find that it's different, so you kind of like it sometimes. One thing is, I can now use a 4-to-1 or a 3-to-1 pitch spiral, which is readily available, so that allows me a little bit more options for wires. So now the cover goes on, and the back goes on, and the back goes on backwards. You want your 2 outside pieces to be face to face. Now my seam will be inside the back. You also want to make sure that you're using a big enough wire. So if you haven't looked at this video yet, please go check out the wire guide. I'm using 3/4 inch because I basically laid all my supplies down here and found which wire sticks up above the notebook enough so that the notebook is going to open and close smoothly. The reason I suggest this method is because you're going to use the wires you currently have so that you'll know what you have and what will work. Because some of the wire gauges, although they're very nice, they don't have your wires. So if you do get the wire gauge that has your wires, that's fine. But this way, you are testing your wires and you can actually see what it looks like. Now let's cinch. You are going to place this on the floor of this back area. This is the floor. This is the back of your machine. You are going to place both open ends against this back, and you're going to hold them there and allow this to press down and curl these into a circle. If you don't hold these to the back, and if you don't put this on the floor, you will end up with flat spots on your metal. You're going to basically do this. You're going to hold this down, but you're going to put this all the way up against that back, and then you're going to close it. You're going to hold it the whole time, but you're also going to bend down and you're going to look at what you're doing every single time, because as soon as I don't look, for some reason, it flattens. And I think because while it's curling, you know to let it curl. You're not forcing it in the wrong direction. You're not making this come off the back. You're going to let it curl. It's very hard to get a video of that, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. Now, before we do anything, we're going to set our cinch to what size our wire is. Our wire is 3/4. There is a 3/4 on here. You're going to push down and turn until the little teardrop points at the 3/4. That allows this to close in the exact amount of space needed to close the 3/4 inch wire. If you're using a size that's not on here, you basically have to do math and figure out where to position this. Like there's no 9/16, but 9/16 is slightly over 1/2. 8/16 would have been 1/2, so 9/16 is slightly over. So you would do one click above the half. If you're doing the 7/16, 7/16 is 1/16 below a half. So you're going to go one click below the 1/2. So because you have this little handy little wire gauge, you can actually write down your instructions and you'll have less fails that way. And I know when I'm crafting, the last thing I want is my project to go wrong. It discourages me. When something goes right, when the notebook comes together and it looks the way I wanted it, my wires are round, it encourages me to go on to the next project. Otherwise, I'm going to put this to the side and I'm not going to do it. Wires do not have to be the We Are Memory Keeper brand. They can be wires from Amazon. They are cheaper and come in more colors and bigger packs. So especially when you're starting out, don't spend a lot of money on wires. You want to go find the cheapest wires you can find, because you're going to practice and you're going to play and you're going to experiment. And that's what you want to do. That's the whole fun of getting a new crafting tool, is doing a lot of the experimenting. So now let's close these wires so we can check out our notebook and see what we got. Again, all the way to the back and holding it down. You don't want it up in the air. You want it down because this piece is going down. You're going to bend down. I'm going to sit because it's pretty far down. You're going to look through here always, because you might have part of it up against the back and not realize you don't have the whole thing up against the back. But if you look down and look through the little tunnel, you are actually going to see what cinch is doing, and you will make sure that it is doing it properly. Not that I'm going to have to do anything, just watching actually makes it work. It's like magic. So I'm going to turn this down. As it curled, my hand automatically brought this out just enough to allow it to turn. However, it did not close all the way. These have to overlap or your pages will come out. So leaving them straight in the back, I'm going to put this back in there and make sure that it closes down. If it still doesn't overlap, you're going to use your machine and you're going to go down one click because you want it to overlap. So I'm going to put it back in here. I'm going to make sure that my opening seam is straight and in the back. And it's still not overlapping. I'm going to hold it for a second. There we go. It has to overlap. You know, it doesn't have to overlap a lot. It just has to overlap so that it's not a straight opening. You can also, with your hand, just go through and slightly close each one. This happens sometimes if my wire gets out of shape. If the wire is thin, sometimes it doesn't hold the total closing, and when you open it up, the wire will move a little. Once you get it overlapping, it will stay. You don't have to worry about, oh, it's faulty or it's not going to work. You just basically want to make sure that it's closed. You don't want any pages falling out. So now let's see what we have. We're going to take this front piece, we're going to flip it around. We have no seams. Our seam is on the inside, which is exactly what you want. This actually came out to be a really nice book. It feels really cool. It looks nice. Oops, get one. There we go. It feels good. It opens well. Let's see what it does when we're flat. Yeah, it opens properly. It's great. I'm glad I didn't go down a size. That would have been too small because you see the space in between the pages. You don't want it to be so small that they're butting up against each other, because when they butt up against each other, they'll catch. So this is the perfect amount of space between them. Now with this, it looks like I could have went with the 9/16. It's right there. It's above my book. But that would have put that center kind of overlapping and touching. So I am glad I went one size higher. I do recommend that you have multiple sizes just for special things like this. So we have the inside covers match. We have the pretty little lined paper. Let's see what the back looks like. We have our seam in the back. We have our covers. I am very happy with this book. I will definitely make another one with this type of cover. This cover, even though it's very pretty, it's also going to be splash proof. If you're using this in the kitchen or you're using this around someone like me with a cup of coffee, this is a great way to have there's paper inside, so I don't want to say waterproof, a splash proof notebook. This is very pretty. This is very pretty. This took more than twice as long to make this as to make this. And now this can be removable and you could change this cover to be anything you want. A great idea would be printing out some photos of someone's children, and they could actually put extra photos in here and change the notebook up. Especially if this is like a manual, like if you've put instructions in here or how to for work or for crafting, and you're going to keep this notebook long term, it's going to be kind of nice to have an optional cover that can be changed. If this was being given to someone as a journal, you could add a couple of packs of stickers in with this gift along with a matching pen, and the stickers are going to allow someone to create visions, to create ideas as they're writing. So this is going to be great, guys. I'm probably going to need to make one of these for myself. So these are heavy duty, thick page protectors for photos. I will put that link in the comments for you. I'll also go and give you the link I have for these wires. I've had really good success with these. I know clamping them right then seemed like a challenge, but they are still perfectly round. And I've never had any of these fall apart or break or become distorted with some of my notebooks. And I've made a lot of these. So guys, what do you think? I want to know what you're going to make and put in your journal. Let me know what you think about the Universal Cinch compared to the regular Cinch. I do have a few videos comparing the two. They don't compare well because they are basically the same machine. They just punch different size holes. So there's not a whole lot of comparing them. The quality's still there. The design is still there. It's exactly the same. Our slider might be a little different, but we'll work it out and we'll get you guys some good directions so that you can make any size notebook you want and make sure that your holes are centered and the machine doesn't tell us how many holes we can have. This is Crafty Tina's. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. And as always, happy crafting.